Welcome to today's webinar. We're really excited that so many people are joining us. Today's topic is all going to be around creating an environment for development. Really honored to have Rick Murphy with us, who's going to be sharing some insights after many years of experience working with students of all ages and all skill levels. For those a little bit new to webinars, most likely not, but just like to a little bit of aspects around it. You guys can see us, but we can't see you. Feel free to give us a little bit of feedback in the chat and so forth. You can ask questions, and the webinar will be recorded. We'll be sending that out afterwards. If we will have a little bit of a Q&A session at the end, so if you have them, we'll walk through it, and we might even stop during the presentation, but most of the time we will do everything at the end. Now, we've had the opportunity to work with so many different professionals throughout the years, and this is really no exception. Rick, we've been working with now for over the past 3 years, and he's a great friend and also someone who I admire a lot. Rick, a lot of people know you, but for those that don't, then maybe you can give a little bit of a quick background of who you are and your story.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. I've been a PGA member since 1981, and among other things, I've worked in the private club arena and at the Cardinal Golf Club in Greensboro, North Carolina. I was for some 15 years as the head professional there and director of golf, and I was looking for a way to perhaps build my own facility and become an employer. So built a practice and learning facility in Greensboro that's on 30 acres of property, and that was built back in '92. So we have multiple teachers here. We have indoor studios, and we set up studios outdoors in the summer. So I've stayed busy as an employer and always looking for ways to drive revenue. I've been a Carolinas Section PGA member, spent a lot of time down in Bogota, Colombia, at the Country Club of Bogota as a teacher and training teachers there as well. So my entire life and background is golf.
I mean, not only that, something special happened last week. And what was that?
Well, I was very humbled by being inducted into the Carolinas PGA Hall of Fame last week. So that's something I'm very proud of, but it's important for me that someone be recognized for helping other people. It's not about the award, it's about being recognized for helping others. And that's what I've tried to do my entire career. And that's what we're doing today.
No doubt. Well, again, massive congratulations. You earn it. And I won't be able to back this up from my end, but I'll do my best. I have pretty much worked my whole career as a golf fitness professional, work with all different types of skill levels and ages, and spend a lot of my time studying biomechanics and understanding how the body works. And over the last years, I've been creating and developing something with my co-founders called Kinexit. And for those who don't know what we do, Kinexit is a platform for teaching and coaching professionals. And what we're all about is understanding that fitness in many ways can be quite complicated and time consuming. And we've created a really simple way for professionals to add it with ease. So we have a 3-step process of being able to screen, analyze, and help players improve in really no time at all. So we've had the opportunity to work with so many professionals, and pretty much everyone is agreeing that fitness has a very connected aspect of the swing and how it works and so forth. But not everyone adds it. Not everyone does the initial assessment and so forth. And most of the times it's because you don't feel confident, or what we've noticed is you feel unsure how to package it, or you don't have time. And historically, it's been quite complicated. So these 4 aspects has become our DNA. It's become really a sense of, these are the reasons why we're here, is making sure these 4 things are turned around. So we know that our professionals feel confident. They know exactly how to package golf fitness, making sure that takes very little time and is something that is incredibly easy. And today we work with hundreds of professionals, academies, and clubs all around the world, and we're incredibly proud of that. Now, Today's theme is all about how we can create an environment for development. And we're incredibly honored to have Rick Murphy with us. And Rick, I mean, you've had the ability to talk all around the states and talk around sections and so forth. And I always get incredible, every time I hear it, I get really, really inspired. But you definitely like your 4 R's that you always talk about.
Yeah,
What are they? And maybe you can just guide us through that a little bit, and we'll give our listeners a little bit of inspiration
yeah,
building, either they're starting off building something or might get some new angles of what they're doing today.
yeah. Chris, thanks. And what we're going to talk about is something that I talked about out in Northern California back just before COVID last year in January. And some of the things I've learned over my career in golf and um, are relationships. And you hear, building relationships is important, but how are you going to do it? And then, something that I'm looking for as an employer and what your employers are looking for perhaps are results. And can you show me the results that you're getting from whatever programming that you use? And then how are you driving revenue? And then most importantly, at the end is how are we going to retain these customers? So during this past year with the pandemic, we have tons of new people coming into the game, and we're going to have to be able to retain those. So I know how important relationships are. So Chris, do you have control of that?
Sure.
Uh,
So if you start with the first aspect around relationships, how do you look at it, and how do you work that around?
Yeah. Well, I think on the practice tee, for example, this morning, earlier today, I had a lesson with a first time student, uh, college baseball player. And, I'm standing there on the practice tee, learning more about him. Hey, what do you do today? Do you have any injuries? Foot, ankle? He says, yeah, I've had back surgery. I've had knee surgery. I've had shoulder surgery, but nothing's really bothering me today, but I'm stiff some days. So he looked at me, and this just happened a few minutes. It's just discussing his life. And you could see him starting to open up and starting to talk about how long he's played golf and some of the things that the people that he plays with. And you just learn so much about the student, and you make that connection early on, day one. It's very difficult to do it afterwards, but you can. So they gain trust in, hey, this person really wants to help me, and I'm going to listen to this, and we're going to work together as a team. And I talk to my students a lot about them being my coach and my teacher during sessions. So building relationships are important. And just one thing I'd like to share with you is I had a student that lived in San Francisco that traveled to Greensboro for work occasionally, a couple times a month. And we built a relationship on the practice tee. And something Chris doesn't know about me, but I enjoy painting and drawing myself. And he was an artist, and Gene was his name. And after, a couple of months of working with Gene and learning more about aviation, which was the business he was in, we became friends on the practice tee in a professional way. And he sent me a painting that he had done. So Gene became a dear friend. And when I show this in a presentation, the artwork that he sent, you're thinking, why is he showing us this? Well, it shows a lot and tells a lot about the relationship you have with a student. So Gene unfortunately passed away a couple of years ago, but his wife had sent me some things that Gene had designated to send me in art. And that really struck me that, hey, this relationship thing is real. And from that relationship, I was able to build revenue and retain a customer in Gene. And he had numerous sources he could get instruction from, but he chose me because I chose to be his friend. and build that relationship. So they matter. And that's something you want to cultivate and ongoing with your students. And, Chris, when we talk about Kinexit, this is a component that becomes extremely important because, we talk a lot about golf equipment and fitting. We talk a lot about technique and teaching. We talk a lot about, fitness, golf fitness. Well, that golf fitness is personal. Okay. It's a personal thing. And once you've built that relationship and gained that confidence with your student, this is quite easy to implement some piece of fitness that helps them not only to play better and to address their limitations, but to play longer and to play pain-free. So relationships matter, Chris, and I can give a 2-hour presentation on relationships, but today we have limited time, and why don't we move on?
But I think it's a great point because it starts there. They come there to see you because you're likable, and you always talk about the different qualities that a professional has. But at the end of the day, it starts there. But you always come over to, if it doesn't gain anything or any kind of result, then that retention question is going to be underlined from that perspective. So you need the relationship side of things, but you always come over to the results as well. So maybe you can get this in how the relationship leads over to that. And you love to talk about, what's the different approaches that professionals have. So maybe you can guide us through that a little bit.
Yeah, results. So at the end of the day, so to speak, while they may become friends in a professional way, on a professional level, and you've built that strong relationship with the student, unless they see results, that will professionally go away. So you want to have results. So the holistic approach that I talk about is the fact that there's several components. There's the mental side and so forth. There's on course, how do you play golf? What are the things that you should be thinking about? But I think we have put it into the context of, hey, does the golf equipment fit your student? That's important. Are you teaching them in a way that they are seeing absolute results? Are they improving? Because if they aren't, you're going to lose that student. And then how can we address fitness? The fitness part, and that's the whole point today, is how you've built that relationship and they want to see results. And quite frankly, 30 years ago, when I began studying the body and how the body moves and biomechanics, and I've spent the last 30 years doing this, but I could never find a way, Chris, that I could implement fitness into a very busy teaching and coaching schedule. So we even experimented with hiring a full-time person. And we did that for a couple of years. But there wasn't enough revenue because that person required a lot of time with my students. Okay, so my fitness professional was incredible, but it required 2 to 3 hours a week or 4 hours a week working with my student. Well, you combine that with lessons and you combine that with a fitness routine and workout, it's not going to work. And just like you hear people joining gyms, my New Year's resolution is to go to the gym this year, lose 20 pounds, become stronger, more flexible, more mobile, more stable. And then 90 days later, the gym's empty, okay, with those people that have that mindset. So you've got to have something that actually works. And today, I think you're going to hear Chris talk about Kinexit. And for minimal investment, you can take your student, you can screen them in 10 to 15 minutes. If it takes you 15 minutes, that's probably too long. So it's 10 to 15 minutes, 7 assessments. And Chris is going to talk about this. And then I get instant feedback. And then instantly, within that 15-minute to 20-minute time I'm spending with the student, they get a whole list of exercises that are prescribed specifically for them, and it addresses their limitations. So there is no other platform quite like Kinexit. That's why I love it so much, and I've used it for the last 2 years. So Chris is going to talk more about this, but there's quite simply nothing that is as efficient and addresses your students' limitations and gets them to work immediately. And it only takes a few minutes a week.
I mean, we're humbled from those perspectives, but you really mentioned it. I mean, there's really a bottleneck where theory and practicality don't really always go together. We want to do all these things, but there's really not the time.
Right.
So we definitely like to, we always talk about getting measurable results. There, data and measurability, different types of launch monitors are really creating an understanding that even the amateur golfers being more and more knowledgeable about, how far they hit the ball, and different things. And I think that also, comes over to what they're doing in their body. So yeah, I love the word, functional movement. How well is the body moving, and what are they doing? And are there potential leakages in those different planes that the body needs to move in? For those that are quite interested in, like, hey, I'm trying to find a way to add the fitness component. We definitely love to look at, fitness, equipment, technique as one whole holistic approach. Equipment, club fitting has just exploded, and there's so many different ways you can do. And the technical side of things, teaching professionals like Rick and so many out there are amazing at finding ways and workarounds. But when the body's not moving the way we want it to, we get sometimes stuck. And that's where it's a great way to move in the fitness side of things. Maybe not always, having to have the fitness professional, but during that in lesson, can we do something to get them excited, get them interested, get them intrigued? And I definitely think we can. So back to it, if I would give you some recommendation from a way to move the body, we definitely love to look at it from two perspectives. One is, how can the body move in three planes of motion? And Rick, you always love the term of 3D, but the body can move forwards and backwards, it can move sideways, and it can rotate. And in golf, we talk a lot about rotation, but we definitely need a lot more, and we're working in different sequences, not only from rotation, but we need extension and we need side bending to be able to get to the top of the backswing. And we need to know, are all these planes working the way we want it to? Or are there potential planes that maybe are more limited than the other? The other piece is the foot, the hip, and the T-spine. Is it doing what it's supposed to do? The foot being the only point that touches the ground, the hips being really, really important, but we live a lifestyle sometimes that doesn't always acquire movement, and our thoracic spine is there as well. So these areas, if we can ask the question a really simple way, how are they doing here? And if they're not, can we give them something with an easy way? And that's really what we do.
Chris,
Yeah, go ahead.
one thing about this, so you look at the slide, and this is something I like to point out: the thoracic spine and the mid back, that is so important. And then you're looking at the hips and hip joints. If you ask a student, Chris, and you and I have never discussed this, and I've started doing this in the last few weeks, where are your hip joints? And they'll always point and hold that bony part of the pelvic area up on top.
Yeah.
I said, no, your hip joint is where the femur comes into the joint there. That's your hip joint. That's where we want you bending from. And they've always bent in that lower pelvic area, and that creates issues for the back, lower back long term. And then you talk about feet and ankles. They are critical in being able to use the ground. So that is really important. And you're talking to students about that. And then you start showing them on the practice tee, something that created a lot of success for us with respect to fitness and in coaching has been the fact that, hey, we actually will show you how your body moves in that frontal plane, side to side, and the sagittal plane, flexion and extension of the body, and then the rotation part. So Kinexit for us has been able to identify those limitations a student has. One other thing quickly, Chris, is I was talking with a couple of golf professionals the other day and talking about fitness. And one professional said, well, yeah, I see my students have a lot of limitations and I try to teach around those. Well, that's fine. I don't do that unless there is a physical limitation that cannot be improved. I always have hope for my students and give them that hope. And hey, if you can increase your mobility, if you can gain more stability, if you can gain more flexibility, then there's hope for you to get better. And that's all your students are looking for, are to get better, just some hope. And that goes right back to driving that relationship. It goes back to driving the revenue, and it goes back to retention. It's so important.
Well, you're absolutely right there. And just taking a step back and asking the question, from a fitness perspective, what's going on in the industry today? So many professionals, we're talking PGA professionals, and we're talking even the ambassadors today, they're adopting routines, they're adopting different ways to stay fit and healthy. And even the latest major champions, even the latest winner, the fitness aspect is becoming more and more hot. And I mean, for a teaching professional, it's a unique opportunity to make our players even better. Players are just looking for ways to improve, not just hitting golf balls, but trying to find that total game fitting aspect around, again, back to fitness, equipment, and the technical side of things. Now, in brief, like we've been talking a little bit about Kinexit, and just to give you a sense worth of what we do, I mean, it's all about a 3-step process. And part of our sort of grudge test has been keeping it simple, efficient, and really something that you can do in a lesson without it taking too much time. So in the actual screening itself, we have a 7-step process, or you could say 7 assessments that addresses basically what we've just been talking about. The 3 planes of motion, it addresses the foot, the hip, and the T-spine, and all this related to the golf swing. So at ease, so it's basically all about you guiding your player through these different assessments, you putting that into Kinexit. All you need is a wall and a measuring tape, and Kinexit will guide you through each piece of the avatar, will tell you what to do. We do have a certification process to ensure that every professional feels very comfortable. But everything here is, Rick, once you've done this 2 or 3 times, you know it off by heart. And I mean, you incorporate this into what you do pretty much every day. So, I mean, the process is reasonably straightforward, correct?
Sure. Absolutely. It's simple, and you can really do it in a very short amount of time and get those results and feedback instantly. So that's why we like it.
Yeah. So overall, we addressed the sagittal plane, as Rick mentioned, with the forward reach. We combine the internal and external rotation. We even combine the backward reach in this way, looking at extension, both in an internally rotated position and an externally rotated position. Again, everything's measured from the big toe to the wall. So it's easy. You can test multiple players at the same time. And from here, we also even look at left and right side bending. And for us, the process is the key thing, making sure that, once you've shared the membership with a player. So in Kinexit, we have a coach dashboard. You can share memberships to any players you like in packaging and so forth. And from sharing it to going through the assessment, you should be done within the next 10 minutes. So even if you have a 25-minute lesson, you can easily integrate it into what you're doing. And then from there, if you're working with students that are on the junior side of things, we have other tests as well. But if you're working with adults, seniors, you can easily just give them some feedback, and then they'll go ahead and start their training. So the feedback is really inspired by the different launch monitors that are there, making sure that we can get instant feedback, both to the professional like Rick and even yourself and even the players. So we know what to assess and what to look at. But the key thing here is we take all the admin away. I mean, Rick, you've been always a very ambitious person, and there's so many professionals that are like that, do the assessment, have the lesson, and then after hours you go home and you put all the exercises together to be able to have to the player. That's a lot of hours that a lot of professionals are spending.
Right. It's not going to work. You just quite frankly, don't have the time. So when most of our teachers are out on the practice tee for 6 to 8, 9 lessons a day, and you're spending maybe half of those students you're doing the assessment. There's this no time afterwards. So we're talking about that family work relationship and the time that you spend at your club. So what Kinexit has done for us is made it quite simple, and we don't have to think twice about it.
And then, I mean, because from the exercise perspective, we've got, as soon as the assessment's done, the player has access to 5 different types of themes, from mobility to stability to, functional strength. They've got 5 different times of time, from 15, 30, 45 minutes. Everything's animated. The player or the professional can add their own content and videos to stay connected. And everything's really built on building that first layer of improving motion, improving the well-being, and then building that success. And the key thing right now, due to COVID, being able to be flexible and being able to be mobile. I can do these things at home. I can do it at, and any place, as long as I have access to my phone. And then, we'll guide you through exactly what the player needs to do. So everything's there, working on the things that, making sure that we keep it all simple and easy. So that's a little bit of an overview of Kinexit, how it works. But again, it all, we've talked a lot about now, Rick, is the relationship side of things. We've talked about how to create results and making sure that we're working with the teaching side, the fitness, the equipment. But at the end of the day, it has to build some kind of it has to have an effect on my bottom line. So revenue now, it can all sound great and dandy, but does it really create results in what you're doing and so forth?
Yeah, that's a good question. And so what we found is, when you think about this, and I'm sure Chris will share you what the investment would be with Kinexit, and it's quite small to get set up on this digital platform. But we've been able to, for example, if we have 65 plus students on using the platform, what I personally do is I charge $299 per year, and I will visit with the student for 20 minutes to do the assessment initially, and they'll get their workout. I ask them to go for the next 4 to 6 weeks. They're going to do this workout routine for 4 to 6 weeks, 3 times a week, a minimum of 15 minutes each session. And then they come back in and we reassess. And I'll spend another 20 minutes with the student reassessing based upon their improvement or not. The feedback will be there, clearly seen, and Chris will share that with you. And then they have a whole new list or regimen of exercises based upon the improvement they made. So the student comes back in every 6 weeks for us, and then we reassess and keep moving forward. In the meantime, we're on the practice tee working together, and the student becomes more stable, more mobile. They can do some of the things that they need to do to improve their golf game and become more consistent. And that's the beautiful thing about this, is that you're meshing in your teaching and your fitness and your relationship with that customer on a routine basis. And they appreciate that. So we've monetized that. It is an additional $20,000 to $25,000 additional revenue each year that, quite frankly, is new revenue. And for roughly what the investment would be, could be as low as $97 per month or $197 per month. We see the ROI, the return on our investment, that's incredible. So, and it builds those relationships as well.
So, I mean, we're always happy when we've got clients that do really well. But that's also one way of doing it. We've also got multiple ways of adding revenue to the bottom line. And one way is, like, you look at it from 3 different types of perspectives. One is you might have 3 students. One is the student that comes in and I want to fix my slice. And you have the one who's more like, hey, I want a long-term goal here. We look at a lesson package perspective. If we look at the first student, one sample could be like, historically, doing some kind of assessment would be impossible. So getting them to change that mindset and like going in and do some kind of an assessment would be difficult because it takes too long. We have to book in a new session and so forth. But today we can do that. If we notice that the player doesn't have the mobility that we want them to, or that we feel it is required, then we can easily do that 10-minute assessment, get them going with it, and they're there. The other option is more the lesson package. And what we see, there's so many things that we can do. But just from the perspective of, if you have a 4-lesson package, instead of just maybe stating it, let's saying, four times 50 minutes, maybe extend what's going on. And pretty much every professional does a lot of great stuff. It's just a matter of communicating this in a way that even the inexperienced person who doesn't take as many lessons, they go like, wow, I'm getting a lot of value for what I'm paying for. At the end of the day, if we're trying to find ways to add fitness, fitting, and all these pieces, starting the initial lesson with the swing analysis. Of course, everyone does that. We're looking at how they swing, what are they doing? And then here, we'll add in the body screening. We will, check what they have, kind of what their goals are, what are they here for? And then the cool thing is they have something in their phone directly that they can take home and get working on. So they don't have to wait a week for you to finish your program. They'll get that right away automatically. And then even so, we'll check their specs and make sure that everything's there, and even give us an opportunity if they need to update or change their specs, then we can open up a completely new aspect of revenue if we feel like that's appropriate. And then of course, lessons 2, 3, and 4, that's completely depending on the goals. But we will help you with the student homework, and then how much time you want to add to that. If you want to give them 1, 2, or 3 months, it's completely up to you. We always say, what's the average time it takes for the player to consume the lessons within that package? And then we set some kind of an estimate. And what we see a lot of the times happen is it ends up looking a little bit like this on websites and how we communicate it. We have, 25 and 50, whatever times we have. And then our lesson packages might be looking in the sense of, I do like some kind of a bundle, and we're discounting it in some way, which is great in many ways, but we can only compete with ourselves then. But in many cases, what we can do is we can add more depth. We can help the player, give them something to get excited about and feel like, they come in through the shop or they go on the website, they maybe haven't played very well. And then they look and say, hey, you know what? I really need to work on my pitching. I really need to work on my chipping. I really need to work on these areas. Even so, in the first assessment, what happens? Well, you have the analysis, you got your body screening, because many times that pie chart with fitness, equipment, and the technical side of things, they work hand in hand. Of course, for many players, if I can't move well enough, that's definitely going to affect my swing. What happens if I can gain a little bit more range of motion, a little bit more movement? What's that going to mean to, my end score or my distance or just the way I feel? So great way, if I give you any kind of recommendation, is think about how you're packaging things and the way you're communicating it. A lot of times we look at it from the inside and out, not the outside in. So a great way to do something like that. And of course, programming from a group perspective, starting it off with some kind of an assessment is a great way to start. A lot of players love it. And, from a Kinexit perspective, we really wanted it to keep it simple. So the cool thing is you can test multiple players at the same time. Really easy to do. Everyone has their own phone. You guide them through each test and you're done within those minutes. And the players have something that they can take home and get started with. And it's a great way to combine both the teaching and the fitness side of things, if it's winter programs or if it's, in season, whatever that is. So that's a little bit about, the packaging and the revenue side of things, which I think is incredibly important. And Rick's had a lot of success with the way he's doing it. We've had a lot of success with other ways as well. So it's just really creating additional aspects of, bottom line, helping players improve. And if we can create results, the results will come from, from a financial perspective as well. Rick, part of the 4 R's that we've been talking about is being relationships. We've talked now about revenue. We've talked about results, but we also have to finish it up with the last one, which is retention. What do you mean about the retention side of things, and how do you look at it from that perspective?
Yeah. That's a good question. So retaining customers, that is the foundation of how we're going to go forward in our businesses today and in the game of golf. And retaining customers, retaining new students, retaining existing students. So how do you do that? So it's all built around how much thought you put into the relationship building side of that, and how much thought you put into with your staff, if you will, and coaching your staff on building those relationships. When someone walks in our facility, of course, we want our staff to address a customer, but we not only want that to happen, we want our staff to know something more about our customer. Okay. So when they come in, they have a smile on their face, our staff does, and so does the customer. Then the results, absolutely. As an employer, I expect results, and that's from what our staff does or what I do. Quite frankly, I expect results in what I do and the effort that I give. And if you're a staff member and you have an employer or a general manager or an owner of a facility that you're currently working at, then the results must be legit, and you've got to show reporting on that. And then driving revenue. That's where you really want to spend some time in developing your program. And as Chris mentioned, everything you do, what you do or what Chris does or what I do or any other golf professional could be quite different from the other. We just brought on the Dustin Johnson Golf School down in Myrtle Beach with Alan Terrell and Sean Pfister, a world long drive champion. They see the value in using Kinexit with their juniors, with their adults, and with their senior players. So that's a big deal for them. They want to build that relationship. So retaining the customer is a joining together of building those relationships, building the results, and also driving revenue so that you maintain your business and grow your business. So retention is about engagement, engaging with your customer, and providing program that's meaningful and they see the result. So it's a combination, Chris, of doing all four of these R's that makes a successful business. And just to sum this thing up, quite frankly, Kinexit has given us additional revenue, and it's a short amount of time. And just to put it in a nutshell, it would be the assessment, the feedback, and then the workout. And that's all done in 15 to 20 minutes. Our customers love it. And we hope that we're going to continue to build our business. And my vision is to have other golf professionals that are like-minded, wanting to see results and build relationships and build revenue, that they'll come on board with Kinexit, as I have. And that's how I see retention, Chris.
Love it. Love it. I mean, so from our perspective is really finding something that we can retain, and at the end of the day, something that we can duplicate, that we can do over and over again. So it's really all about screening, assessing, practicing, training, improving, and then, the eat, sleep, repeat concept. And the better we can do that, and the more we save on ourselves, and that it's even for the professional, making sure that it's holistic, that's something that we can duplicate and do over time without burning out is really, really important. So, Rick, thank you so much for, being with us, talking about your 3 R's. It's always a pleasure doing these webinars with you. Just very, very proud to have you on board.
Yeah. Thanks, Chris. Thanks so much.
And, for those that are interested in what we do and about Kinexit, we definitely have the doors open for all professionals teaching and coaching. And again, we're all about making sure that making golf fitness simple. So for those that are interested right now, feel free to go on to kinexit.com/request. And what I want you to do is just fill in the form and let us talk to you. Let's have a conversation. No strings attached. We definitely want to make sure that it fits first. And then if this is something that fits in, we'll book our certification and we'll help you get launched. Our certification is really where we go through fundamental biomechanics. We help you get a deep dive into understanding of how the in-lesson screening works, education in how you can, work with it and so forth, and then also helping you launch. So it's not just a matter of, going from here, but at the end of the day, we try to provide a one-stop shop related to this, so you have everything you need to get started. So again, going on to Kinexit.com/request, feel free to use Murphy Webinar so we know that you've been on the webinar, and we'll take good care of you and make sure that you have some pretty good aspects around that as well. We have 3 different types of licenses, ranging from 97 to 247 a month, with 300 months to 2,400 months. So what does that mean? Basically, our relationship with a professional is 12 months long, and you have in their lowest license 300 months to package, include, distribute as you place. If you chose only to package 3 months of Kinexit into lesson packages, and you would charge $50 within that package, you had a potential revenue of $5,000. And there's a really good upside for that. You can go up and down. We don't get involved between the relationship between the player and the pro, but we can give you advice and guidance as how you can do it. And of course, if you want to do it from an annual perspective, you can definitely do it. And there's a little bit of a discount from an annual side of things as well. And then of course, we'll help you with the marketing side of things, everything from templates, copy for email blasts, social media. You'll have access to our knowledge center, where we have social media posts. Our warm-up sign is really cool, where we develop a warm-up sign where you can have it on your range or your studio, and players can go and grab the QR code. It's going to be connected to you. And the cool thing is that they'll have access to a limited Kinexit membership where they can only warm up, and they'll be exposed to you every day and every time they go in, where basically we want to tell them, hey, good luck with your game. Go ahead and contact, the local pro to get more out of your training, or personalize your training, whatever that works for you. So if this is something that could work and it's something that you fit into what you guys are doing today, feel free to go onto Kinexit.com/request, use Murphy Webinar, and we're happy to just have a great conversation and see if this is something that could fit in. Now, we've come to the end. I thank you so much for joining us and for taking the time out of your day to, spend with us. If you have any questions, anything you're wondering about, feel free to use the chat or the Q&A. It could be anything at all related to fitness, around Rick and what he does. It could be around Kinexit. Feel free to use the Q&A or the chat function at all. If not, we're going to be coming to the end right now. We're going to try to keep it at about 45 minutes. We know everyone's very busy, have a lot of things to do. So feel free to ask questions right now. Otherwise, we'll be rounding this off and we'll be saying bye for now. And again, if you're interested, no strings attached, feel free to use Kinexit.com/request. Use Murphy Webinar, and we'll know that you've been on here. And because you spent the time with us, we definitely want to take care of you and make sure that you have a good opportunity to get on board from that side of things. So thanks so much for today. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the weekend coming up soon. And we'll see who is going to be the winner of the next players here coming up. So guys, thanks so much. Take care, and I'll see you on the other side.